All right. Well, finally, I get to sit there and do this collab with John. We're going to be sitting there talking about the rise and fall of the Arrowverse, the CW in general, and to kind of sit there and give us a little brief history of the CW for some of the people that don't know or was born in, I don't know, 2012 or whatever. Whenever you were born, that may not know that it was not always called the CW. It was actually called the WB. But yes, I'm going to sit there and it's going to be me, Albert. Well, you know who I am. And of course, my good friend, one of my really good favorite subscribers, John. How are you doing today, John?
I'm doing fine. Thank you so much for having me for this.
Oh, of course, of course, of course. So yeah, why don't you sit there and tell us a little bit about the Arrowverse? Well, it's CW and like how did that got started?
All right, absolutely. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, particularly those of you who are probably born after 2006, so the CW was actually originally two networks. It was one was the WB network, which is of course the Warner Brothers network, and UPN, which stood for United Paramount Network. That was owned by Viacom, then CBS. So the two networks actually started back in 1995. The WB started on January 11th, 1995, and UPN started on January 16th, 1995. And the kind of programs they gave weren't too different from that of the CW, but there were some differences regarding the two, particularly with UPN. Like UPN started out as a network that gave like mostly like sci-fi shows and some interesting action shows that you would probably find on some of the other networks. And believe it or not, the first night of UPN actually beat out all the other networks on that night with its 2 hour premiere of Star Trek Voyager. So, and it like to 8 million viewers it got. But that was pretty much the only time that UPN would see those kind of ratings. The WB would never get that kind of ratings, but it put out some pretty popular shows such as Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Smallville and Seventh Heaven and a lot of teen dramas. So not that different from the CW. So so not to go off on a tangent, so we'll probably have to talk about the history of those networks another time. But for right now, we'll explain like why the CW came to be. So the WB and UPN, like they were struggling. Like they would never like really measure up to the other four networks. So when they were like really struggling, the owners of each network knew that it couldn't go on like that for a long time. So soon Time Warner, which owned the WB, and then CBS Corporation, which owned UPN at the time, they had a meeting together and they decided, what if they merged their two networks together to form one network so that they could find a little bit more success. So that's how the CW came to be. And 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 they had like their schedule started out with shows from each of their networks. So like from WB you would have Smallville, Supernatural, Seventh Heaven, Reba, Beauty and the Geek, One Tree Hill, and what else? I might be missing one, but yeah, those were some of the shows that were included from the WB. And from UPN, you had Everybody Hates Chris, Girlfriends, All of Us, America's Next Top Model, WWE SmackDown, and
Didn't you have sorry to cut you off. Didn't they have Roswell on there also?
Roswell. That was actually years ago, but like before like the CW started. But it actually did air on both.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh
So
God.
the first two seasons aired on the WB, and then the last season aired on UPN along with Buffy when it moved there. So they had those. So I'm probably so if I didn't name all the shows that came. Oh, I knew I forgot one. Gilmore Girls was also one of the WB shows that went to the CW, and from UPN we also had Veronica Mars. So
Yes.
exactly, yeah, that was actually a pretty good show.
Yeah, it was one of those things. So it's like I missed that boat. I wasn't really into shows and stuff like that until like Smallville came around, and
Yeah,
then I started becoming more like TV shows as opposed to just gaming. So
yeah,
yes.
yeah,
Um. So going into the Arrowverse, and of course, it did all start with Smallville. For anyone that's like, no, Smallville started. Smallville is the reason why these Arrowverse shows got so popular, and how even Aquaman and Arrow and stuff like that was because of Justin Hartley, I think.
yeah,
So we gotta give props to the original people that did started, like Rosenbaum,
yeah,
um, Rosenbaum said. But
yeah.
what? Okay, so what are some of your fondest memories of the Arrowverse?
It would have to be the crossovers. Like, I think one of the I think I really like the Crisis on Earth X crossover. Because that was when everyone really got together. Yeah, when all four shows got together, Supergirl and Flash and Arrow and Legends. That's when they really all got together, and then you had their Earth X doppelgangers come along. They were on a whole another Earth, and like it was pretty much a world where most of them were evil stuff. But yeah, they had like a really good storyline and a really good fight scenes, especially like we got to see for the first time we got to see Stephen Amell play an evil version of Green Arrow, and that was like I enjoyed it.
Yes, yeah, I would definitely. I mean, see, my whole thing was like, yes, I definitely would sit there and say that Crisis on Infinite Earths was well, no, not Crisis. What was it? Earth X. Earth
Yeah,
X was one of those things where it's like they got used to each other. Like you knew the history, you knew the chemistry, you knew the back and forth between Oliver and Flash, and of course Supergirl and stuff like that. So like it really kind of cemented this whole Justice League. Like Justice League was literally the CW. As much as I like Zack Snyder, it was literally the CW that really made it feel like this was the Justice League. You
absolutely.
know?
I think they had a better build on towards it, and even though nobody expected that's where it would go, like we started the whole thing out with Arrow, and we were at first we were thinking we would just have this one show, but then it spawned into the Flash, and then a bunch of Legends, and then Supergirl, which was originally on CBS, joined the universe, and then we basically had this entire TV like cinematic like universe, and people enjoyed it. And I think with the Snyderverse this in theaters, I think the reason why it didn't go as well as we would have liked it to is I think the problem was everything towards that felt a little bit rushed. First we had the Man of Steel movie, which was a pretty good, really good movie, and then but then they rushed into Batman versus Superman, and then eventually then we would get a Justice League movie, but a lot of the other characters didn't get their own films at that time. So we just got into that one film, and then they would do those things later on.
Yeah, yeah, they no, they definitely did try to rush it, and I think what they was trying to do was trying to do the opposite of Marvel. Marvel had their own individual movies, and then they did a team up. And I think what they were trying to do was to trying to do the Justice League, and then kind of do their own individual movies, and it just didn't pan out that well. The TV, they had an advantage, because you got to sit there and watch the rise and falls of each one of their characters. So when they got together, it was much more of a bigger payoff than, let's say, the Snyderverse with Wonder Woman. You just kind of throw her in there, and it's like, all right, she's cool, but now we got to sit there and watch a backstory that just seems kind of out of order, you know?
Exactly. So so what I really liked about it is like they took their time, and you know and with the pacing and everything like that, and everything it just turned out really well, and they had a pretty good finale with with the Infinite Earths one, where Oliver like ends up becoming the Spectra, and then dies to and then and as a result, people come back from the dead, and then they basically merge the Earths together. People end up being on the same Earth. Like Supergirl and Black Lightning, they all end up on the same Earth
Hmm.
with the rest of them.
Yeah, no, that was definitely, it was one of those things. It was really great. I still do love that crossover, and I just wish it would have probably happened a little bit sooner because yeah, you have Supergirl that's now on the Flash, and you don't have to do this whole multi-world thing. But it was one of those things where it's like, unfortunately, that's when the end was coming. It was really great to have Black Lightning with everyone else, but it's like, well, now it's almost over. So talking about Gotham and everything seems like it's cool, but it's kind of too late at that point.
Yeah, yeah. And I feel like there were also a lot of missed opportunities with it. So I wish we could have gotten so much more of that sooner, especially before the new owners took over CW.
Yeah, and turned it into whatever it is now. Which is unfortunately, it's unfortunate because Here's the thing about the Arrowverse. The Arrowverse did not exactly have the best special effects and the best this and the best that, but it was really fun to watch, and people
Exactly.
always talked about it. And I think that's what it really came down to. You don't need to have necessarily the best visual effects. If you could tell a good story, have good characters, and have people coming back each week to give them something to do and something to watch, I think you actually kind of is kind of successful in his own rights.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So and we also have Superman and Lois coming up. The final season of that, and I I hate that it's the final season, but I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. I think my only gripe with Superman and Lois, because I don't have many, is I wish they would have just been upfront that it was its own universe, because I think people want it to be its own universe, and they tried to package it when it first started like, oh, well, this is the same Superman from Superman and Lois, and from Supergirl, but it's not. Just be honest, and not pull out the reveal later on. Like, we would have been fine with it. I felt like there's something about it I just didn't like. I can't put my finger on it, but I just didn't like that.
Yeah, and the thing is, it was actually originally supposed to be part of the Arrowverse because before we had the whole pandemic, they were originally going to do a crossover with Batwoman, and
Yes.
then but that didn't happen, of course, because the whole pandemic hit, and so they just proceeded without it, and but it turned out well, but
No, it did.
yeah, and you would think that it was still part of the Arrowverse because we got appearances by John Diggle.
Yes, we got appearances by him, and also, you know, when Crisis on Infinite Earths ends, they was like, hey, listen, you're gonna be sitting there seeing your two sons. So it went from him having one son to him having, well, practically twins. So when this show started, it was like, okay, well, you're following the same formula from the Arrowverse, but now you're just doing your own thing, which is fine. But you should have just been upfront about it that it was his own universe, because you already changed so much of it. You changed the suit, you changed the way the powers looked, you changed the special effects, which is great. But you could have just been more honest and upfront about it, because as we're watching this, we're like, where's the Flash? How come he's not talking about the Flash? How come he's not sitting there talking about Supergirl? How come he's not sitting there talking about his cousin? It's not making sense. And they should just package it as its own thing. It would have been fine with that, or at least
Yeah,
told us.
yeah, I think yeah, I think the thing is like it was just a last minute decision, like within either the end of the first or the beginning of the second season. um
Yeah.
I think they originally like marketed it as part of the Arrowverse, but then after the first season ended, and since they figured they were doing so good with its own space, they decided, you know what, let's just call this its own separate universe, and call them all doppelgangers of the Arrowverse heroes.
Yeah, I mean, all in all, I mean, granted, it's a small gripe, and overall, the show has been amazing. And I honestly do sit there and think because the show, as great as it is so expensive that regardless if you got James Gunn coming to take over, we would only got like maybe two more seasons out of it anyway.
Probably,
So, you know,
yeah, probably. You know, because the CW unfortunately is cutting back on expenses, so that means they're not going to make it expensive shows. In fact, like we're not gonna get like any more like scripted shows like made here in the U.S. because they shut down their entire scripted department because of it. So I guess so even if we were like hoping to have some like more stuff like it like in a lower budget, we're probably not even going to get that because like their entire scripted department is shut down, so the only scripted shows we'll be getting are things from overseas or things from Canada.
yeah, and that's definitely unfortunate. You know, during that time before Nexstar took over, the CW was kind of like in its golden age. It's kind of like the last of the Mohegan Suns because 20 episodes, they don't do 20 episodes really anymore. Like, and
Yeah,
to be fair, it is kind of long compared to because I'm used to watching like stuff on Netflix where it's like 10 to 8 episodes. So 20 episodes, it's kind of a long, plus, you got, you got fillers and stuff. So I understand why they don't do 20 episodes, but I don't think 10 episodes is a lot to ask for, you
yeah.
know?
I would say at least do 16 episodes or of that. I mean, at least that would probably be somewhat enough.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it really does come down to because see the thing about Stephen Amell is that he understood that he had to do Monster of the Week stuff, and he understood that he had to sit there and try to do filler stuff. So he tried to gear it in a way where it's like it at least went to the formula. At least it went to the formula of the show, and so that's something I can always sit there and respect about Stephen Amell. Like he fought to get the League of Assassins on their show. And I
Yeah,
haven't seen anyone actually do something like that. Like he fought to sit there and get that, you
yeah,
know?
yeah. That was amazing. So and with whatever we're getting net now, like whatever the network is giving now, it's nothing better. It's nothing better than what we got before. In fact,
No, and
if anything, it's a little like they're trying to make a profit. Like they said they want to make a profit within the next 2 years, but so far they haven't been doing a job of that.
no, and it's very hard to when you don't actually have shows that's going to attract people the same way that it attracted people before. I understand that. I mean, granted, I guess maybe in the grand scheme of things, I don't know if they needed to do all those comic book shows on there, but it gave them recognition. People would flock more to the TV shows than they did to the movies. Like as far as like the DC universe, people flock more towards the shows. People was always talking about the shows, even on YouTube. So it's like it gave the CW a brand of recognition. It may not have always been the best high quality, but it was the most talked about for a reason.
Yeah, it really was. And I used to I considered the CW the destination for sci-fi TV on broadcast networks because a lot of like the rest of the broadcast networks like they don't have as many like genre shows like fantasy, supernatural, sci-fi, like stuff like that. But I figured like the CW was basically the go-to network for those kind of shows, you know, like CBS is mostly known for crime shows, while I
Yeah.
guess the rest of the other broadcast networks were somewhat of a mixed bag. Well, there was a time where ABC was mostly known for primetime soaps. Like they don't have as much over there anymore. But yeah, like with the CW, like yeah, like supernatural shows, fantasy shows, and superhero shows, and other kind of sci-fi shows, and I I looked at it as that was its sweet spot. That was like the shows that like brought people to that network, and it was basically their true identity. And when you take all that away, like what does anybody see the CW as now?
Yeah, and it's funny too because Eric Relo, he does a lot of, he used to do a lot of DC shows and stuff like that. And basically, in the daytime, the CW is really just, no offense, but like shows that mostly like our grandparents would sit there and watch, like courtroom shows and reality shows and stuff like that. But that's what they're doing now. They're showing stuff like the Connors and stuff, and it's like, bro, nobody comes to the CW to sit there and watch a rerun of a show from another network. Like we're not coming to there for that. So it's like, why are you putting that stuff on there?
Yeah,
It's I don't. They seem like they lost their identity because the shows was always marketed towards people from like 22 to like 40 something, and now they're marketed towards people that you just put the CW on as a background noise. You know.
yeah. And I think, and that's the whole problem with this, is because they the new people, like they analyzed like like who's watching the CW, and here's the problem: they misanalyzed it, like they misanalyzed the CW viewers for the viewers who are watching like not even the network, but their affiliate shows during the daytime. Like most of the CW affiliates, they show all the courtroom stuff and news or whatever they're on, but that's the demographic. Like they're like they were like calculating, but and they basically calculated it that demographic as the people who watch the CW on prime time, but that's not who who's watching the CW during the prime time hours. Like it was basically like 18 to 49, like a younger audience, but not anyone under 50. Like if there was anyone under 50 who was watching the CW on prime time, it's most likely a small group of people, but the majority was younger than that. But the problem is they counted like the demographic who's watching like the affiliate shows like during the daytime, and they figured that was the same people who were watching it in prime time, even though it wasn't. So because of that, they're putting the kind of shows that you would see during the daytime, or basically appealing to the daytime viewers group, and basically alienated any younger people, like alienating most, if not all, of the longer time CW viewers. So that's the problem right there. They miscalculated things, and they're putting shows that don't necessarily like are a little off brand, like for longer term, for long time viewers.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. And, granted, a lot of stuff does come into play. You talk about ratings and stuff like that. And I mean, granted, this is across the board with all the network, or like, WB, Fox, and stuff like that. Like, people don't necessarily watch it that day. And they may DVR it, they may watch it online, but they're watching it the next day. And like TV is so used to a certain formula of, okay, we got to count the ratings that night. I'm like, I may not watch it until in the morning before I go to work, but I still do watch it. But they still rely on this whole, well, how many people are watching it this night, as opposed to how many people are watching it at all. So I think they need to sit there and change like how they calculate their rating system, because it's very old school, and people watch this stuff on streaming services too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think maybe that's what they need to start doing. Like, that, like don't just calculate the live ratings, calculate the ratings from people watching it through DVR, or people watching it through their app, or any other streaming
Yes,
service they're still associated with. And then once they analyze that, and they could actually get a big number of viewers and realize that this is how many people are watching the show. And if it's bigger than it appears to be, like live, like then they'll know that they have to keep the show.
exactly. And I think that's the problem. Like, most people don't watch stuff live anymore.
Yeah.
As much as shows I like watching, I may not watch it that particular time. I may watch it later on in the day. But if you're counting live, I'm like, you do realize that most people are probably at work right now, right? Or they probably out. They're gonna sit there and watch a little bit later on.
Yeah,
Especially stuff like Fridays and Saturdays, or hell, even when I go back to soap opera, it's like 3 o'clock. It's like you do realize that most people don't get up to 5, right?
yeah,
So they still watching it. They just not watching at 3 o'clock.
yeah.
Um, what would you sit there and say if you had to sit there and say, "Hey, listen, how would you be able to fix this problem if they were willing to listen? What do you think they could sit there and try to do to turn it around?"
Well, what I would do is like I would say like we get like the shows we had before didn't like they probably weren't the strongest with ratings, but they still wanted an audience, and like basically compromise like I would say like don't make everything you have on the network cheap. Like here's the thing, if you were like to at least have at least 2 or 3 nights of the shows that people tune into. Like I think that would work. Have a night where you have sitcoms, and I don't mean imported sitcoms, original sitcoms, like kind of like the stuff you would see back in the day, like in the early days of the CW or even back in the WB. Like have a night for that, then at least have at least 2 nights of dramas or 2 or 3 maybe like 3 nights with like dramas and like genre shows and stuff like that. If you want to put some kind of reality show on another night, I guess you can do that. And then and also I guess wrestling after that. There is going to be wrestling that's coming back to the CW.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
yeah.
yeah,
Okay, so
something.
I can see what you're saying.
Yeah, but yeah, something like that. But just don't like put in a schedule that will like alienate your long time viewers. Like if you want to like try to bring in like newer viewers, like you can do that, but do it in a slower pace. And try to elevate viewers of both demographics, and not like completely revamp everything that makes the network completely unrecognizable. And don't just rely on reruns and reality stuff because people watch this CW for a reason, and it's not because of whatever they're putting out now. It's because of the show the genre shows, the superhero shows, the supernatural fantasy shows. At least keep some of those around and make ones, but while also I guess adding a little bit of sitcoms and variety, but just do it to a degree that doesn't make the network completely unrecognizable. So that's what I would probably do.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. It's more about balance and stuff like that because I can see a lot of those shows that we used to sit there and watch as much as we love them, they might have been kind of definitely overblowing their budget. But don't sit there and just wipe everything clean and then try to save money and penny pitch by just putting out reality shows and reruns because nobody's going to watch that. You don't want to sit there, like you said, you don't want to sit there and push away the people that came to your network for a reason. You could balance it out where you still give the people who've been watching the show for a long time something to sit there and watch. Instead of just, oh, we got to sit there and save money, so we got to just wipe everything clean because I'm like, that's not the way to do it either. So yes, I do agree with that. Budgeting, balancing it out would definitely be better while saving yourself some money. Because I think people would still sit there as pissed off as I am with the way that they handle things. I would go back if they balance it out and gave me something that reminds me of when the CW was kind of in its prime. Um, Now, is there anything you want to sit there and say before we kind of wrap this up a little bit?
Um, I guess I would probably say say this. whatever the CW is trying to do right now, it's clearly not working. They need to make some changes. They need to. I think the only way for them to survive is try to bring back the longer time audience. Like 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 turn the scripted department, like bring back the scripted department, bring back a little bit more shows like what we used to have before, while trying to add in somewhat newer things, like and do original sitcoms. Don't just do imported sitcoms. Do original sitcoms that translate, I guess, a little bit better here. And yeah, and do something like that, like like do something to bring back some of your older viewers, because if they keep going the rate they're going right now, then I don't think the CW is gonna make it for a long time. I think they may have end up deciding to shut it down if it keeps going the way it does now. Because let me tell you, I've looked at the ratings for those shows, and they are not doing any better than whatever we had before. So yeah,
Hmm.
I think the best thing they can do is like try to bring back the older viewers, or or bust. So
Yeah,
yeah,
no, you're exactly right. You're exactly right.
yeah,
And here's the thing. I like to sit there and think when I do these videos. Granted they're fun and entertaining and stuff like that, and people like them. Also share this video if because it really does help. But I like to sit there and think that some CEO, some person that's in charge, has to be sitting there looking at what they're doing, realize it's not working, and being like, well, what can we do to sit there and try to change it? Because they do
yeah,
have marketing teams. And I like to sit there and think that they do go to different outlets, sit there and try to find solutions because you can only sit there and think of so much before you have to sit there and start thinking outside the box. So I like to sit there and think that maybe these videos in the right hands wouldn't be such a bad thing. Just saying.
yeah. Well, if anybody from the CW is watching this right now, just know the audience for the network was younger than what you perceived it to be. At least during the primetime hours, like it's not they weren't the same people who were watching at the daytime. They were a much younger crowd, and you need to bring some of those kind of shows back to bring people those people back in. That's the best way to fix the network right now. So
Yeah.
do that, and you'll have a better chance of making a profit.
Yeah. No. I couldn't have said it better myself. Don't leave just yet. I'm gonna sit there and close out the video,
Oh
John.
yeah,
So don't leave just yet. But listen, I do want to sit there and thank you for joining me today to do this video because I've been wanting to talk about some of this stuff for a hot minute, and I cannot sit there and think of a better person to sit there and kind of bounce ideas and just kind of sit there and chop it up with. So thank you for joining.
oh, thank you for having me. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, me as well. Like I said, share this video because it really does help. A lot of times I will sit there and push out the membership, and I know some people don't do the membership, but sharing the video does a lot more than people think. So definitely do that. Again, I want to sit there and thank you, John, for joining. I appreciate everyone watching, and we will see you in the next video. Laters.